Episode 13 of season 3 is titled Arrow on the Doorpost. So, this is essentially just an episode about the governor and Rick meeting in what apparently is a feed store. It's like this building surrounded by these grain elevator things. Apparently, it's a feed store.
And they're just meeting to try to Andrea set up the meeting to try to come to a compromise so that they don't have to go to war. And Rick comes with a compromise. He's like, we'll stay on this side of this area, you guys stay on this side of the area, there won't be any issues, we won't run into each other, we won't cross over, and that's not good enough for the governor.
Right. He says he just wants Rick's surrender.
Yeah.
So then they're meeting and
Andrea and Martinez and Milton get there, and Andrea realizes that they started the meeting without her, and she goes in supposedly to mediate, but it's really just because she has to be the center of attention.
She does. Yeah, she's basically saying, oh, you guys have to make peace, you're both reasonable, you both stepped up to lead your people.
Yeah.
And then the governor basically says, Andrea, get the hell out.
And Rick's I agree.
Yeah, he's like, well, I don't trust you either. Yeah, And so they both kick Andrea out, and then outside, Milton and Daryl are insulting each other, and let's see, they're just kind of the people who accompanied each party.
Right.
Are kind of bickering with each other and talking.
Because Daryl and Herschel are there for Rick, which Herschel is one leg, guys.
Yeah, Herschel is a strange choice. Idea. I'm not sure why they sent Herschel.
Why not Glenn? Why not Carl even? Or Daryl. Daryl is there. Merle, but I guess Merle, because of the governor, would not be a good idea. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then there are some walkers that, appear, and all of the three Woodbury people decide to take care of it.
Yeah.
But then they're trying to show off their skills to one another, and it's really Andrea and Martinez that are trying to show off their skills.
Oh, and Daryl.
Oh, yeah. Daryl too. You're right.
Because Daryl and Martinez are both trying to outdo each other.
Yeah.
Because they're,
But Andrea's got to play with the big boys. She's got to outdo them too.
Yeah.
And then Daryl finds some cigarettes, a pack of cigarettes, in one of the walker's pockets that he put down, and
it's very hard to believe. This walker was very... Oh, what were you going to say?
Unless this walker just died, less than an hour ago and had cigarettes in his pocket.
But the walker, he's decayed and his clothes are dirty.
You're right.
Very soiled. I mean, yeah, and that's what is hard to believe about it, is that the walker, his clothes are very soiled, as if he's been out in the elements for a while. And the pack of cigarettes is open.
Yeah. Right, there's not the plastic
it should have just been
a
sealed package.
Yes,
that would have made sense. If Daryl just
pristine.
gets, if it's just a slightly crumpled but still intact, unopened package, that would have made perfect sense, But for whatever reason, pristine. It's open. It was just in his shirt pocket.
Yeah.
But somehow, when Daryl opens it, these cigarettes are in perfect, they're in absolutely freshly opened, condition. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
And Daryl says, "Oh, menthols, what a douchebag!" But then starts smoking them anyway.
It's because I'm a douchebag. Just
I guess so. Yeah.
So him and Martinez start becoming buddy.
So and Daryl says to Martinez, were you Army or something? Daryl is basing that off of Martinez killing walkers with a baseball bat and being proficient, twirling his bat around and being skilled hitting things with a baseball bat. So I just have to question. I have to question what kind of image of the U.S. Army Daryl has in his head? Does he think that they fight with baseball bats? I found that odd because, I mean, well, really, I mean, it seems more likely that he was a ball player or something. I mean, like, really, Daryl saw nothing that's
Army
indicated
would not be my first
Army.
indication.
Yeah, like, well, I don't know if he would be using a bat. He might be using something else, like a knife. I don't know if he'd be using an aluminum baseball bat. But anyway.
And Milton and Herschel are starting to get to know each other.
Right.
Because Milton's like, he's keeping records of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because he believes that there will be like a post-apocalypse and like, I guess post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
And he wants to have records for like the history books and stuff like that. And he's like, and you stopped the infection by amputating? Fascinating. And he asks if he can see it, and Herschel like decides to make a weird joke, and he was like, take me to dinner first. Like,
I think he said like, you didn't even offer to buy me a drink, or maybe he said dinner, but yeah, he makes a joke like, he's like, I'm not gonna show you my stump. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it is kind of awkward though.
And Rick and the governor just keep fighting inside about like trying to come to a truce, and the governor's not having any of it. And so he ends up giving Rick basically an ultimatum. He's like, all of this can stop if you give me Michonne, and shows Rick his eye that Michonne obviously like
stabbed.
Yeah, gouged and damaged, and he's blind now because of it in that eye. And all he wants is Michonne.
Yeah.
So like the only other really storyline of this episode is like back at the prison, and
yeah, so Glenn, okay, Merle is saying we should go and kill the governor. We should ambush him there. Glenn is saying, no, we won't do that. And so then Merle is like trying to get out and do it himself, but then him and Glenn end up fighting and rolling around on the ground and wrestling with each other. And then Beth shoots into the ceiling and
which should have deafened all of them.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, like, okay, I mean, like, why did that stop them exactly fighting? It's not like anyone believes she's actually going to shoot anybody.
Just because it's a loud noise, like a dog who's fighting, when you throw a chain down, it startles them.
Yeah, but if they're really intent on hurting each other, they're not going to stop.
That's true. That's a good point.
Thank you. But yeah, so then they're fighting, and
then Merle tries to get Michonne on his side, and she like hears him out. Like, she's really calm and collected during the whole thing, and then she's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then Glenn is watching post outside, and Maggie joins him, and then they leave their post to go have sex.
Yeah, they're I guess they get over the whole governor taking them hostage thing, and then they have sex. Which, I mean, what if Merle had tried to escape at this moment?
That's like, a good point.
I guess you guys like shouldn't have abandoned your watch.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, and then like so then after the meeting, the governor's I think, is he talking to Martinez? Or
yes.
I think he's talking to Martinez. Yeah. He's like, okay, when Rick comes back to drop off Michonne at the feed store, then we'll just kill everyone except Michonne.
Right. Which is, like, this is something that Rick, like, was questioning. He was like, how do I know you're not just going to kill us anyway?
And then Andrea's like, oh my god, what?
No, Milton.
Was it Milton? No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. It was
Milton. Was like, but I thought that we could let them go. And he was like, well, Rick's got to die sometime.
Which is technically true. I mean, he is mortal.
So the only thing Andrea was saying earlier in a previous episode, like, you guys can come to Woodbury, we can all live together. And it sounded like a really bad idea, but then seeing how they were interacting, not Rick and the governor, but the rest of them, I think that, like, if there had have just been one person in charge, either Rick or the governor, not both, then they actually probably would have done really well. Like Milton and Herschel seem to really get along. I could see Martinez and Daryl getting along really well and being really effective together. That's all. Just an observation.
No, I agree. But I think that they could, like, the communities themselves would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's something, like, unlike the comic version, like, Woodbury is pretty, I mean, I guess they would call themselves civilized. Like, they're very, like, normal, except for the governor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, really,
it
would be fine if it was just Rick or the governor.
Yeah.
And they weren't fighting over these things. Yeah. It would probably be fine. That's true.
And that's kind of
the
end of that episode. That's pretty much it. So going into episode 14 of season 3, this is called Prey. This is when the governor is getting ready to, like, meet Rick to hopefully get Michonne. Rick never gave him an answer, so he's just hoping that he brings Michonne.
Mm-hmm.
And we see him, like, in this torture chamber, basically, with, like, 2 chains with huge hoops on the ends that he's holding on to. And it does not explain this anywhere in the show. Apparently those are for walkers.
Like Michonne's... I think they're for Michonne's...
Like her pets.
Yeah.
So they go around their necks.
Yeah.
But, like... It's not
not
apparent
clear
in the show at all.
And,
like when we were watching it, we were like, what
Why
the hell is he gonna do with these huge hoops?
Like, is he gonna he's gonna replace these with handcuffs and manacles of some kind, right?
He's gotta if he wants to use it to torture
yeah.
her.
Yeah. Like, and so that makes sense. That's like, I would not have just guessed that, these are from Michonne's walkers.
That's not apparent.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And back at the prison, Rick was like, we're going to war. He's mad about what we did at Woodbury. He doesn't tell them about Michonne, about, like, the deal.
Right.
But he does tell Dale.
Herschel. Oh, no. That's okay. They're the same character, pretty much.
He tells Herschel in private, and Herschel's like, well, Michonne's one of us. And Rick's like, would you like, give up your daughter's lives for her?
Of course, Herschel doesn't have an answer for that.
Right. And he's like, why are you telling me this and not everyone else? And Rick was like, I wanted everyone else to be more scared. For when we do have to give her up, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you because I'm hoping you can talk me out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so then in this episode, he's like talking about how to do it, I believe. I think it's this one where he tells Daryl. Is that the next one? Okay. So I guess he's just kind of like agonizing over it in this one.
Yeah, just secretly with Herschel knowing and no one else.
Yeah.
At Woodbury, Milton shows Andrea like the torture chamber that the governor is creating. And she's gonna shoot him, and Milton stops her and is like, I knew Philip before this. So, like, I guess Milton knows his name, but, like, does Milton know that he's Brian and not Philip?
Well, because, I mean, and it might have been unintentional on the part of the people making the show, but the way that he's like, I knew Philip, he says it kind of strangely, like, as if, like, to say that's, like, he's not, you know what I mean?
He's not really Philip.
Yeah, like, as if he's, like, using that, like, he's emphasizing it to say it's not really, like, that's not really who he is.
Right.
I mean, that would have been cool. That might have just been, I mean, that easily could have just been the actor saying it in a strange way. That would have been cool, though.
That would have been
cool. So that's very possible.
Yeah. I like that. I like that idea that was intentional.
Me too. Yeah, so let's see. He's like, I knew Philip before he was the governor. That man still exists. Yeah, I think that would have been cool if, like, he was like, oh, I know Brian is still there. Like, you know, like, I know this is, like, not necessarily who he really is. Yeah.
And so Andrea's like, well, I'm gonna leave. I have to go tell them at the prison, and so she tries to she tries to go over the wall that Tyrese and Sasha are watching, not watching, watching.
He's like, I don't know if this is a good job for us. This seems pointless.
And they like don't want to let her go, and she's like, you can't stop me, and she just hops over it, and then they get in trouble for letting her go.
Yeah.
And so the governor takes them out to the Walker pits.
Something I want to note that okay, before Andrea gets over the wall, we have a scene of Tyrese and Sasha like standing guard, and then Tyrese is like trying to shoot a walker and he keeps missing, and he only eventually gets it, and they're like bantering back and forth. And so okay, I'm trying to remember when I found out that they were supposed to be brother and sister. I thought they were boyfriend and
I
girlfriend
did
for
too.
like a really, really long time.
They definitely seem like it.
Because like this,
I
like
don't
their
think it's,
banter
like-
and their relationship seems more like flirty and like they're lovers more than
I don't
siblings,
think
and it's
it's
kind of
like
weird.
until they're in the prison and Tyrese has another girlfriend.
Probably. I mean, yeah. Because it really seems more like they're lovers.
Yes, it does.
I don't know. I think if I was the director, I would have been like, "Hey guys, like maybe try not to make it seem like you're horny for each other quite as much, because like this
"Nope,
might
can't
confuse."
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's like, okay, for the love of God, fine, whatever. Yeah, they're like, "Nope, we're just too horny in real life." I mean. Yeah, but anyway, it's a bit strange because I don't get the impression that they're siblings at all.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so then after that,
The governor finds out, and he's mad.
he's like, oh, well, Martinez has this job to do. Will you guys go with, or will Tyrese go with him? Or does Sasha? No, I don't think Sasha goes.
Sasha and the other I think his name is Ben, who was with them.
Yeah.
I think they all go.
Okay. But anyway, so then they go to the quote-unquote Screamer Pits, which is a very overly dramatic name for where they collect walkers with those wind vane things that make noises and attract them, and then they fall into these ditches that they dug. And so then, like, they're like, oh, we're gonna grab these walkers and use them against the people at the prison. And Tyrese is like, no, I don't like this, man. This isn't right, man.
Yeah.
And he's getting, like, really freaked out by that.
And he's like, we'll just leave Woodbury. It's okay.
But Alan, the guy whose wife Tyrese put down when she died after she was bitten, like the guy who was in that group with the son, Ben, he says,
you don't speak for us.
well, because he's like, no, dude, like, this is fine. You're going to get us kicked out.
Yeah.
Like, earlier he was like, come on, man, stop making waves. Like, like, I have to keep my son here. This is safe. This is a good situation. Which is true. I mean,
if I was in this situation,
I
with
just
a kid,
really
yeah.
distance myself from Tyrese personally. If I were him, I'd just be like, you know what, screw you, man. I don't care, Yeah, because from their perspective, okay, because Tyrese says, at some point he objects to using walkers against the people at the prison. He says like they have women and children. There's probably some way he found that out, but how does he know that? Oh, right, because he saw Judith.
Yes.
Okay, that's right, because I was trying to remember, like, did he see Judith? Okay. So I guess he, I guess he does know, but to some extent, that they're not all crazy.
Well,
okay.
Yes, and
that makes
that
more
is
sense.
also
okay.
kind of strange that, like, when they first got there, he was like, we'll help you fight, we'll do whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then, he's like, he doesn't want to use walkers.
Right. Now he starts having these issues, and he's like, we'll just leave.
Yeah. And so, let's see, then. What happens? So then, then the other plot that's going on in this episode is
The governor's chasing
right.
down Andrea.
Andrea gets away, and then the governor goes after her, and he's like chasing her through a field with this truck, and then she ends up in this like warehouse or something, and then he follows her in there, and he's like stalking her through it, and then let's see. They're doing a cat and mouse thing in there, and then she manages to get some walkers, some walkers on him, and then runs away, and then that's the last we see of that scene. And then
she's at the prison, she's right outside the gate.
Right, she is, yeah. And then she gets grabbed, yeah. When she's basically at the fence, yeah. And so then.
I think
I think that's was there another storyline? I think that was basically no. Okay, but then no, because then at some point someone burns the walkers in the pits. And then the governor thinks it's Tyrese, and he's just I think it's funny because the governor's so tolerant with Tyrese, he's just whatever. I mean, he's he thinks he burned them at first. And then he's like, yeah, where'd you get the gas? And Tyrese is like,
but
what?
If they have all the, we've talked about,
right,
they have all
how
this
much gas do they have?
Apparently.
They have an outrageous amount of it, yeah. And so then he's like, where'd you get the gas? And Tyrese is like, what? And then he's like, oh, never mind. And so then, and then Milton, runs into him on the street, and he's like, oh, what a shame about the walker pits. And the governor's like, yes, a shame. And so then, obviously it was Milton, and then, and then we see that the governor has Andrea in the torture chair.
Yes.
And then the episode ends.
And that's 13 and 14.
It is.